Hi, you're welcome back to this video. This is a continuation of the C# beginner series. If you are new here, kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you are updated when a new video is dropped. Thank you. Previously, in this series, we have looked at lists and we have looked at dictionaries. In case you did not watch those, I strongly encourage us to watch them before coming to this video. Because in this video, we'll be talking about lists and dictionaries, their similarities, or rather the differences between them, and why I will choose to use a dictionary for a particular scenario and why I will choose to use a list for a different scenario. So the list is an ordered collection of items. So meaning that if I place the item in location 0, I will definitely meet that item in location 0, or rather index 0. Whereas for a dictionary, there is no particular order. One could come before the other. It doesn't matter that you added it first, that it doesn't guarantee that it will be the first item. So that is for dictionary. But for a list, the first item will always be the first, the second item will be the second, and the third will be the third, in that order. So the order is important in list, but for dictionary, there is no particular order. Secondly, is that the list allows duplicate elements. So while dictionary doesn't allow duplicate elements, so we talked about for the dictionary where we try to put in in a key that already existed, and we saw that it threw an error. But for a dictionary, for a list, we saw that it could allow you to put the same item multiple times. So if we just come here and we have our list, so let's just have list and just a list of, let's say, integers. Now we could have a list with 1 and the same list with 1 again, and this will not throw an error. If I run this, we see that this doesn't throw an error. As we can see here, it did not throw an error, and this is the list. But if we have a dictionary, so a dictionary, so let's just have a dictionary, let's say an integer and an integer, and let's say we want to put in the first item, let's say is 1, 1. Now if we try to so if we compile this now and try to run this, it will throw an error because key 1 already exists. There is already a key with 1, so this will throw an error. So it's telling you that an item with the same key already exists. This key, which is 1, already exists, and so the compiler will not allow that to go through. So that was the second difference we saw here. And lastly is that items are accessed by their indexes. For lists and arrays, the same thing, they are accessed by indexes, but for dictionary they are accessed by their keys. So if you remember, for a list, for example, you say list at position 0, for example, that is how we access the item, the first item, for example, in a list. So for example, I just say item and we have it, and that's fine. But for a dictionary, we have to index it by whatever the key is. Now, so because the key here is an integer, so let me just change this to string so that it is obvious that so I make this string 1, or let's say 1, and then we'll make this string 2, something like this. Now, so if I wanted to access the item again, all I just need to say item is index or in key 0, because this is a dictionary rather. So my dictionary, I'm accessing what is in this key, and the key is a string here, for example. So whereas we access items by their indexes in a list, for dictionary we access them by their key. So if the key is 1, for example, it will be accessed by that key, whatever string we use. Since this is a string, that since the key for this particular dictionary is a string, so that's about that. But there was a final note I put there, that when you are trying to search for an item in a dictionary, it is much more efficient than finding or searching for an item in a list. So let me just put this tool down to say that if you want to search for an item in a list, so you want to look for an item in a list, you will have to do, so we have for a list, we have dot contains. What this does, as you see, it says that the contains, it determines whether an element is in a particular list. So we have this function in C# by default for list, so we could check if an item exists within a list. But for a dictionary, as we saw last, for a dictionary you have contains key, so, and you could just so let me just, so for example, you could put this and you check if that particular key does exist. So this is actually, you are trying to find an item, or let's say you are checking if the item exists there. So let's try and simulate a situation where we are trying to search for some particular items. I will just drop that so that's not to waste our time. I'll copy that and we'll be right back. Okay, so here we have, and basically what we are just doing in these first two places is we are adding the items to the list, and here we are adding items to the dictionary. So basically that's what we're doing, but we're going through a loop and we're adding 1,000, oh sorry, let me change this to supposed to be, so we're adding 100,000 items here to this particular list, and to this dictionary also we are also adding 1,000 items to this dictionary. So we have 1,000 items within these two collection types, so within a list and within the dictionary. Now, so basically I don't want you to worry about what the stopwatch is. Basically just trying to keep track of time. That's basically what we are doing. And so what we are trying to do here is we're checking for, so we are starting from 0 all the way to 999,000, and we're just trying to tell it to look for those, check if it contains those items. So this is just trying to find items, basically nothing complex there. So you see, we just say searching for the list, and then when you search for the list, it will tell us, okay, so let me just put this here so that it just follows that order. And so here we stop our stopwatch and then we put in how long it has been running for, and we do the same thing for the dictionary. So let's just run this and we'll see how different we have. So it's searching for the list, and you see it took, for the list, it took 2,000 milliseconds, that is 2 seconds it had to run to search for the 100,000 items, to see for each of them if they exist or not. But you see, for a dictionary it just took 3 milliseconds to perform a similar operation of just trying to check if it exists. So each time that, personally, this is from my own point of view, anytime I am trying to search through a collection, even if it's a list, I try to change it to a dictionary, because for dictionary it gives me a faster lookup time. I'm able to search through it faster. That's my point of view for dictionary. I hope this is clear, and we see where we will use dictionary preferred to a list. But for wherever I have a sequence of numbers or sequence of data and I need to preserve that order, then I prefer the list. So for example, if I'm not really going to search through the item, but I want, for example, probably in this list, for example, item 0 is for the first person, and this list contains, the index is telling me for which particular person. So maybe the 5th person is going to be at index 4. So you know, the order is very important for me there. So I will prefer to use the list there than a dictionary. I hope that with this little video, we've been able to see in what scenarios we could prefer to use a list, and in what other scenarios we would prefer to use a dictionary. Thank you. In case you do have a question, please drop them in the comment section and I'll do respond to them. This is much appreciated. Thank you, and I'll see us again in the next video.